Hi, I'm Sharon Winsmith, a tax attorney, active investor, and your go-to resource for proven investment and tax planning strategies. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the misconception that the only investments you can make are in stocks and bonds. I want to start by saying this is not investment advice. I am not giving you any kind of advice on what you should or shouldn't invest in. I am going to simply share my personal opinion and my thoughts on all the different asset classes that are out there. In a lot of cases, I think we're under this myth that, we can only invest in stocks and bonds, and that a good portfolio of diversified large cap stocks or, maybe investing in some REITs is really diversification. If you've got a portfolio that's just stocks, no matter how diversified you think those holdings are, or if you have a portfolio that's stocks and bonds, that is not diversified at all. Some of the wealthiest, most savvy, sophisticated investors I know don't even touch the stock market. I personally do like to invest in stocks, but that's my own personal opinion. But I can tell you that there are a lot of really smart people out there who think that the stock market is a waste of time. I know at one point Warren Buffett made the comment that you only park your money on Wall Street until you find a better investment. What he's saying is that you only invest in stocks until you can find something better to invest in. The vast majority of wealth in this country was built by people owning businesses. In some cases, those businesses were real estate types of businesses, but businesses have always been proven to be the way to make the most money the quickest. So, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, all those people built their wealth through owning or starting businesses. So I'm going to explain to you all the different asset classes. You can make your own decisions and educate yourself about these different asset classes as far as which ones make sense for you. I don't personally invest in every type of asset class I could out there, but it's important before you start investing that you understand what is available to you to invest in so that you can make an educated decision on what makes sense for you. So I want to be clear that my personal opinion is that there are much better investments that you can make than just stocks, and certainly better investments than bonds. The reason I say that is because in a lot of cases, if you make smart investments within those asset classes, you can get better returns. In a lot of cases, the returns are significantly higher. You also can have better tax efficiency with other types of asset classes, and you can be more diversified. I, again, cannot stress enough how I think a portfolio of just stocks or just stocks and bonds is extremely undiversified, extremely risky. The opportunity cost and the returns that you're missing out on there is just huge, in my opinion. So I think that's a big mistake to think that you should only build wealth by investing in those things. So let's start with what I think the different asset classes are. So I've broken this down into 10 different asset classes. I know there's people who would have different opinions on, what categories there should and shouldn't be. And I just want to explain, my thought process here for this. So we all know about stocks. That's buying, public companies. You set up your online brokerage account, you go out and you buy a share, you invest, that can be investing in an index fund, whatever it is, you're basically owning equities, in public companies. So I personally split up fixed income and debt. I know debt is a form of fixed income, but when I talk about debt and investing in debt, I think it's very different than the other types of assets you put in here. So fixed income is things like, money market account, a savings account. It can be bonds, T-bills, things like that, where you're getting a fixed stream of income. In a lot of cases, that income is really interest income. So debt is, basically a form of fixed income. But when I think of debt, I think of more as peer-to-peer lending. It could be as easy as my friend needs a loan. So I loan, my friend Bob, $10,000 in exchange for interest income that he pays me on that loan. So that's a form of debt. There's all different types of debt. You can invest in debt funds, funds that lend to real estate developers, funds that lend to, finance litigation. So that, litigation financing is a form of debt investing where you can go out and invest in debt where you're basically lending money for a lawsuit to be held. So, there's all different types of debt there. And I have other videos where I talk about these individual asset classes. I will be very upfront. I don't touch fixed income. There's a number of reasons. I talk a lot in my other videos about that. But this is a good example of, yes, this is an asset class. It's an asset class the vast majority of the population invest in. I don't touch it. I've never, I'm not a savings account. No, get out of here. Like I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting my time with 1, 2, 3% interest income every year. Debt, I very rarely invest in, but there are very limited situations in the past that I have invested in that. And that's why I split those out, because I know they could technically be combined, but I think about them very differently. Real estate, everybody knows about real estate. What they don't know about is how you can invest in real estate. So you can buy REITs, and I talk a lot about, the different forms of investing in real estate and what I like and don't like and why that's the case. But from investing in REITs to buying real estate yourself, going out and buying properties directly. You can buy, properties that you list on Airbnb. You can buy properties you rent out monthly basis to tenants. You can buy apartment buildings. You can buy, commercial buildings that you rent out to people who are using those for commercial purposes. You can buy raw land. There's all different types of real estate investing. There's some methods I like and don't like. I've spoken a lot about how I don't like REITs, but I do like to invest in real estate funds, for example. I'm not currently in my life, I have been in the past, but I'm not currently owning properties directly. It's just not where I want to focus my time, but you certainly can do that and be very successful investing that way. I invest a lot in real estate funds. So I talk a lot about that, education on how to find real estate funds to invest in or syndications and what that looks like. So real estate, yes, you need to have, I don't know wealthy people who are smart who do not invest in real estate in some way, shape, or form. You cannot efficiently build wealth without investing in real estate. I think it's a big mistake to, ignore this asset class, especially, real estate. And this next one, I'm going to talk about business. I think these are probably the two most important, in my opinion, as far as asset classes, that if you want to build wealth and achieve financial freedom early in life, you got to be looking at these two classes at a minimum. So again, I wouldn't invest everything in real estate or business. I think it's important to diversify. I'm very diversified. There are definitely classes I don't invest in, like fixed income. But, it's important that you've got a handful of these different categories, in as far as in your investments. So real estate, you need to understand the different ways you can invest and what those mean and, the tax benefits and where you can achieve those and that type of thing. So that's a very important asset class. Business, I in my opinion, and yes, I'm biased because I'm a business owner, is the most important asset class. I've said this. The wealthiest people in this country have all gotten there either by inheriting a bunch of money from their parents or by starting or acquiring businesses. It is the fastest way. Yes, it might be one of the riskiest or the riskiest asset class, but if you know what you're doing, you make smart decisions, you educate yourself, you make very take calculated risk within this asset class. To me, if you're wanting to achieve financial freedom early in life, I don't know how you're doing that without, being familiar with and getting involved in this asset class. So don't forget about businesses. If you want to build wealth, you've got to consider this asset class. You cannot just invest in stocks and think that you're going to get there overnight. This is the way to really bring in more money and really do it tax efficiently, or certainly more tax efficiently than some of these other asset classes that you can invest in. So moving on, private equity, venture capital, and hedge funds. So these are three different ways I think about investing through these. You invest, typically passively. I'm not talking about, where you're putting together your own fund and going out and buying private equity, PE companies, or investing in startups. I'm really talking about investing more through a fund. But yeah, you can go out and do this yourself. There's no reason why you can't. If you've got enough money, go out and start your own VC fund, for example. But I'm really talking here about investing in investment funds. So, I'm a big fan of private equity. I invest a lot of my money in private equity investment funds. Typically, these three asset classes are only available to qualified purchasers. So if you're not quite at that hurdle yet, then, keep working, you'll get there. But it's important that even if, you're still a couple million away from there or, just getting started, you've got to understand these categories from day one. Yes, if you're just getting started on your wealth building journey, these are not going to be open to you. And if they are, they're probably not good quality investments, but you've got to be aware of them and what you're working towards in the future. So once you reach that qualified purchaser threshold, then, if you don't know what that is, you need to watch my other videos because that's very important. But then these are three great, asset classes to consider. I don't invest in hedge funds because it doesn't align with my investment philosophy, but a lot of the wealthiest people in this world do invest a lot of their money in hedge funds. So if you don't know how these work, I have other videos that are coming out that'll talk about these different asset classes and how they work. I know hedge funds, venture capital, and private equity can be very confusing for someone who's not really, involved in the space. I worked where I was the advisor to a lot of these funds in the past, and that was how I learned, what they meant, what the differences were, and how they worked. But don't feel bad if you don't know. I think it's very complicated for someone who doesn't really work in the space. Crypto, I know there's a lot of thoughts on crypto. A lot of people have very passionate feelings about it. A lot of people say it's risky. I spend most of my time, I would say my learning time on just AI technology and just the advancements around AI, but crypto and blockchain technology. I personally could not be more bullish on crypto and blockchain technology and the future potential of it. I think there's a lot of really crappy forms of cryptocurrency out there, and I think there's a lot of people who invest in that. I think there's a lot of people who are looking to turn a quick buck and make money really quickly from investing in crypto. I had a lot of friends, tell me I lost money in Bitcoin or Ethereum. And I'm thinking, how on earth could you lose money in crypto? Like, how could you possibly think that now was the time to sell or to me, crypto is a 10, 20, 30 year horizon. I don't care what it looks like today. I don't care what it looks like tomorrow. I care what it looks like 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I think that's a very long-term trajectory to see the full potential of, Bitcoin and other forms of cryptocurrency and just blockchain as an industry as a whole. So again, that's a long-term investment. A lot of people think it's risky. I don't think it's risky if you know what you're doing and you're investing in projects or, types of crypto, or technology that you think has good uses and just makes sense, from a practical standpoint. You really understand what you're investing in. But to me, that's a long-term investment. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to understand what you're doing. So lastly, I have this other category because we could just go all day about the different types of assets, but I'll be very upfront. This other category is really anything that you can think about that's not on this schedule, from derivatives to, foreign currency. A lot of people invest in foreign currency, and, you're kind of timing the differences and the values of currency as it compared to the US dollar, for example. There's all kinds of like energy, oil and gas. Some of these could be up here depending on what types of projects they are. Infrastructure funds, anything like that really that's just not easily fit into these other categories. I don't invest in anything in this other category, so that's kind of why I didn't put it, on this chart. So, there are other types of asset classes out there. I want to be clear about that. This isn't meant to be every single thing that you can invest in. I'm not saying that I know everything about every type of asset class out there. So keep in mind, this other category is meant to be a catch-all. I don't invest in a lot of those things. You will not hear me talk a lot about those things on this channel. I don't do derivatives. I'm just not a fan of the way they work. They don't align with my investment philosophy. I don't do foreign currency because I just don't have the time or desire to dedicate the effort to learning that, understanding that, and keeping up with everything. So, I don't do collectibles. I don't do precious metals. I dabbled in gold in the past because I kind of understood a lot of the thought behind it, but I don't do it today. It doesn't, again, align with my investment philosophy. So that's not to say you shouldn't or should. That's just to say, you're not going to hear me talk a lot about those types of investments on this channel. So again, this is just a quick overview. I'm going to have a lot of different videos and resources on these different asset classes, but if you are someone who is looking to achieve financial freedom, if you're someone who's looking to build wealth, you're going to need to be familiar with these. I'm not saying that you need to invest in every one of them. I don't. There's several on here that I don't touch. I said I don't touch anything in this category. I do not touch fixed income. Hedge funds, I said I don't invest in because they don't align with my investment philosophy. There are a lot of smart people who would disagree with that. So you've got to understand these. You've got to, really understand how they work, what you're investing in, and decide if it makes, if it's a good decision for you to make investments within these asset classes. So the purpose of this video was to show you that there is more available to you to invest in than just stocks and bonds, and don't make the mistake, buying into that misconception that those are the only investments you should make. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.